deal if he did leave the European Union. Well, I'm joined now by one of them, the UKIP leader, Nigel Farage. Very good morning to you, Mr. Farage. Well, President Barack Obama, he's just gone, and then Hillary Clinton weighs in that. I mean, do you object on the basis that they should just keep their noses out, in spite of the fact that they're the most powerful nation on earth and have a special relationship with this country?
Well, I think, you know, if we were to intervene, if a British Prime Minister was to intervene in a presidential election, America would go absolutely berserk and say this was, you know, ridiculous outside interference. I'd rather he'd said nothing, but let's just analyse what he did say. And your little clip there, he said we'd be at the back of the queue, didn't he? Back of the queue. No, interesting, isn't it?
Do you smell a rat with queue?
Interesting, isn't it? Americans don't use the word queue. They use the word line. So he's come over here to parrot the Downing Street line. He's done it again with the interview yesterday, when he said a trade deal could take 10 years. I mean, just put a naught on. I mean, why not? Just exaggerate the whole thing. He's parroting the Cameron line. So it's not just the political establishment in Britain clubbing together, it's the global political class clubbing together.
But, OK, I mean, Q line, I mean, he wouldn't say it, whatever the word is, if he didn't believe it.
Well, no, I mean, they've just concluded a trade deal with Oman. The Americans have done a trade deal with Australia that was signed, sealed and delivered within 10 months. You would have thought that one of their major trading partners in the world would be quite important.
OK, well, let's take even...
So it's purely political. Yep. This is not about trade. This is purely political.
But let's take even the 10 months. I mean, because this is significant. We know, and this is a fact, that investment decisions are on hold at the moment until the referendum is decided. This is coming from economic surveys.
Deutsche Börse have just bid
depressed. Even if you negotiate the trade deal in 10 months, you've still got 10 months of uncertainty.
First things first, Deutsche Börse have just bid 20 billion for the London Stock Exchange. Toyota are investing money. Avon are moving their European headquarters to London. There's plenty of investment still coming into the UK at the moment. The pound is weak. Do you know what? The pound has been in a bear market since July 2014. I used to do this for a living. I know about these things, all right? And sterling will go lower regardless of the result. You know, let's face it, British public finances are not in a great state, all right? So that's why the pound is going down. Now, on the big questions about... We do not have a trade deal with America at the moment, and yet we do lots of business. China doesn't have a trade deal with the European Union, and yet sells it 300 billion euros worth of goods every year. You don't actually have to have trade deals to do business, but it's preferable if you do. And remember, when we vote to leave, we invoke Article 50 of the European treaties, which means for up to 2 years, our trading relationships are completely unaffected, giving us all the time in the world to sort out new relationships.
And you agree with Boris Johnson, don't you, the Mayor of London, about the President's background having an effect on his view about the UK? Of course, Boris Johnson referred to his part Kenyan ancestry, and you've said about Barack Obama because of his grandfather and Kenya colonisation.
I don't think that's the point. I've made these points about Barack Obama for several years. You know, it struck me over the spill in the Gulf, when BP was the responsible company, Barack Obama kept calling it British Petroleum and did it in a certain way. But I don't think that's the point.
You think he's anti-British?
I don't think he's very pro-British.
Because of a Kenyan grandfather?
What the reasons are, frankly, don't matter. What matters is the intervention he's made in British politics.
Well, was Boris Johnson wrong then?
I'm not saying Boris was wrong, but I think if you're seen to be attacking the man and not the bull, then that's not where we need to be.
But you've done it.
Well, I've been saying it for some years.
Does that make a difference?
Well, I mean, I could just deny my past, but I can't really do that. I've said for some time that Barack Obama is not a pro-British president. But frankly, that is not the issue. The issue here is he's spouting a line. He's saying he doesn't think the UK should be an independent sovereign democracy. And he's saying...
But it does matter, Mr. Farage, because, you know, you're talking about motivation, about why he's saying it. Now, you've agreed with Boris Johnson in the past that he has a certain animus towards the UK because of Kenya and colonisation.
There is a bigger motivation, and that is, with this trip and with what he's said, he's guaranteed his financial future. He's done the bidding of the giant American corporates who want Britain to stay in the EU. Why? Because they want this TTIP, transatlantic trade and investment partnership deal, done so that the big American corporates can buy up chunks of our public services, including the National Health Service. That's a bigger motivation.
Let me move this on into the overall campaign to leave. Of course, Boris Johnson in that camp that got the official designation. Do you think he's messing it up?
I would say this. We are just over a week into the campaign proper. I think the Leave campaign has got two fundamental problems. The first is that it appears that the Leave campaign is just the Conservative cabinet ministers, and it's fantastic that we've got 6 of them on board, but if that's all we see, well, that's no good, because nearly 75% of the electorate did not vote Conservative in the elections last year. I was on a TV debate, a radio debate on Friday with Mick Cash, who leads the RMT, made a very eloquent left-wing case as to why the EU was actually bad for workers and bad for workers' living standards. I think to win this referendum, you've got to see trade union voices, you've got to see Labour voices, you've got to see UKIP voices. You know, we've got to be appealing to a broader group of people than just the Tory electorate. The second problem is, if we debate economics and trade, and we can go around in circles for weeks, and the public will be none the wiser, in my opinion, at the end of it. But if we do that, that's kind of defending our goal, right? Because they're attacking us on this. What the Remain camp do not want to talk about is the fact we have an open door to 508 million people. What they don't want to talk about is the fact that 2 of those murderers in Paris had come back into Europe using the Greek islands, posing as migrants, and what we as a Leave campaign need to do is to start talking about those issues, which the Remain camp will find difficult to defend.
Well, you've described it there. You've been sidelined. How frustrated does that make you?
Well, I'll be very frustrated if we lose the referendum, and it's up to those of us who, and I'm one of them, it's up to those of us who the official Leave campaign don't wish to use, to go out around the country and make our own noise, and I will be doing that.
Talking about foreign political leaders offering support, we heard there your criticism of Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, of course weighing in on your side, Marine Le Pen from the Front National. Apparently she's coming over in a couple of weeks to the UK. Are you going to meet her? Do you welcome that?
No, I don't think it's particularly helpful. I'm not quite sure why she wants to do it. Although, I mean, she's a committed Eurosceptic, and indeed, right across, I mean, it's very interesting this, isn't it? Right across the continent, there are now Eurosceptics on the right, like Le Pen, but equally on the left, like Podemos and Syriza in Greece. And everywhere we're seeing the massive growth of Eurosceptic parties, and of course a Dutch referendum the other week that said no to the Ukraine deal, a referendum in December in Denmark that said no to European justice and home affairs. So there is a big Eurosceptic movement now right across the continent.
But just Marine Le Pen, come if you like, or please don't come. What is it? What
I don't think her intervention would help our side of the debate. I'd rather she didn't come. But I mean, I've heard some ridiculous ideas this morning put around that we should ban her from entering the country, and that clearly would be even more ludicrous.
Okay. Now, tell me about UKIP, because, you know, we've talked about this before, you know, win or lose, what is the future for UKIP? We're hearing you're talking about rebranding it, refashioning it, repositioning it, and becoming, you know, parallels drawn with Beppe Grillo, the five-star party in Italy.
Really interesting. Beppe Grillo had a sort of internet guru called Gian Roberto Casaleggio behind him, who died a couple of weeks ago. They're now on 30% of the national opinion polls, and they've swept the youth vote in Italy. Similarly, an organisation called Green Steel in the Netherlands got nearly 500,000 signatures for that referendum that took place the other week. And what I'm seeing, because I'm out around the country every day, because there's a massive set of elections coming up in a few weeks' time. So I'm all over the UK. And I keep meeting people between 18 and 30 who are enthusiastic UKIPers. Whoa, right behind you, mate. Love your videos. We retweet your stuff.
So you think the image is a bit too fusty? You know, you appearing in a pub with a pint of old wallop or whatever it is. It's not really appealing to the 18 to 25s, is it?
Well, I'm saying the opposite to that. I'm saying I'm meeting them in pubs and elsewhere, and I'm finding some really enthusiastic support from this segment of the population, and yet not one of them has considered joining UKIP. They just don't think about, you know, filling in a form and writing out a cheque and sending off 30, just, you know, and having their membership card in their wallet. That generation don't engage with politics like that. Now, we saw a specimen of this last year when the Labour Party said you can join for £3 and have a vote. Huge numbers of people joined the Labour Party. I think by going online, by modelling some of what Beppe Grillo's done in Italy, we could make UKIP a big political party.
Well, let's do the parallels here. You just said it there, except you didn't say the name. Modelling it on what Jeremy Corbyn's done.
No, I'm saying...
Nigel Farage says Jeremy Corbyn's done a good job.
I'm saying the Labour Party attracted hundreds of thousands of new members last year, and particularly a younger generation that got involved. And I think if UKIP does that, and we give our membership a say, engage them, say, look, you know, by giving us a few quid online, you effectively become a shareholder, you know, in this outfit.
And they take policy decisions.
And we will say to you, we're considering going for this as an area of policy direction. Are you with us? Are you against us? Engage them. That's what Grillo's done, and it's worked.
OK, Nigel Farage, UKIP leader there. Thank you very much indeed. Very good to see you, Mr Farage.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.